What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at the 1925 adaptation of The Phantom of the Opera. Let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. Overall thoughts? I like the 1925 version of Phantom of the Opera. I think that this is a very strong movie, and this is one of the better silent horror films to come out of that decade. Of course, this movie is backed by the legendary and iconic performance as Lon Chaney Sr., who plays Eric the Phantom. What can you say about Lon Chaney's performance that has not been said already in regards to this film? Lon Chaney, just in general as an actor, was a maverick of silent acting. His use of his body language, facial expressions, and his skills as a pantomime artist make him one of the very best of the best in the era that he lived in. And the Phantom of the Opera is no different. This movie perfectly showcases just how the talent that was Lon Chaney Sr., from not only as an actor but as a makeup artist as well. You know, the iconic, look of the Phantom with the death's head still is ingrained in pop culture to this very day, almost 100 years later. And a lot of that has to do with the talents of Lon Chaney Sr. as a makeup artist, as someone who did his own makeup. When you actually read upon how he was able to accomplish the feat, you're like, damn. Because Lon Chaney Sr. put himself through a lot of hell to get the makeup right, as he stayed true to how the character was described in the Gaston Leroux novel. And to me, I thought Chaney did a fantastic job of capturing the essence of Eric from the novel. Not only in the way he looks, but in the way he performs the character. Chaney gives a lot of subtlety to this performance, and he gives a lot of, theatrical over-the-topness to this performance. But it never comes across as comical. It always comes across as just the right amount that never takes you out of the movie. Only very few actors can do something like that. Lon Chaney Sr., to me, is one of those actors who can do that. So yeah, nothing but high regards for Lon Chaney Sr. as the Phantom. Fantastic, iconic performance. Love him in this movie. The supporting cast in this movie is also good to themselves. You have Mary Philbin, who plays Christine, the love interest of the Phantom. I thought that Philbin was overall very decent in the role. She wasn't anything spectacular or anything like that. But, you can see why the Phantom is smitten with this woman. She's a very beautiful looking woman back for 1925 standards. And this Phantom just being impressed by her and wanting to seduce this woman, you buy it. And it works. And the movie's best scenes is pretty much the Phantom in Christine, is pretty much the scenes of the Phantom trying to seduce Christine in as many ways. Even to the point when he brings her to his lair. And of course, you get the iconic demasking scene that this movie is so famous for. Fantastic build-up. Unlike the 1943 version, which rushed that iconic scene, this movie built up to that. And it's actually one of the better directed scenes in this entire movie. And it's up to you as to who you think directed that scene. I'm of the opinion that Lon Chaney Sr. directed that scene, since Rupert Julian, the director of this film, was not really all that great in terms of his directorial skills. And when you actually read up on the production of this movie, yeah, a lot of people did not like Rupert Julian, especially Lon Chaney Sr. These two got very heated, to the point where Chaney and the crew thought that Rupert was a hack of a director. And in a lot of instances, you can see how amateurish his work can be. There are certain things that Rupert Julian does as a director that just don't really work. And there are certain scenes that actually do work. His directing in this movie is a real mixed bag. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say when it comes to Rupert Julian. His directing in this film is a real mixed bag. Now, back to talking about the actors. I went on a little tangent over there. So yeah, Mary Philbin as Christine, I thought she was fine. Norman Kerry, who plays Raoul, the love interest of Christine, I thought he was okay too. Christine and Raoul, they don't really share a whole lot of scenes together. The movie just tells us that they're in love with one another. The scene where we actually get to see them do anything is this big Masquerade Ball scene, which is shot exclusively in Technicolor and of its time looks absolutely fantastic. That's one of the scenes where we actually get to see development for Raoul and Christine and see the love that they have for one another. Of course, the entire time they're talking, the Phantom is hovering over them as a little bit of a spy. So I like that scene. It's another really well-directed scene. And the other supporting cast that follows, I thought they did okay, especially the actor who played the Arab, who played the Persian, who teams up with Raoul to find the Phantom. And the movie hints very subtly that the Arab, that the Persian, and the Phantom have a little bit of a history, but they don't deep dive into that. And that's actually one of the aspects of this film that I really like over the 1943 version, is that the Phantom in this movie is kept to a relative mystery. Like, we don't know a whole lot about him, and I like that. The fear of the unknown. Like, who is this man? Why? How was he born? How was he born the way he was? What made him the person that he was in this film? Like, we don't get that, which I like. It adds on to the mystery and the mystique of this character, and I like that. It's good. I mean, the little hints that we do get, it works. It works, and it keeps us asking the question as to who is the Phantom. I enjoy all that, and that's actually why I like the Persian, the character of the Persian. He kind of adds on to that mystery and mystique a little bit. Now, in terms of the production value of this movie, now I already criticized the directing for being a mixed bag. It's not horrible, but it's not fantastic either. It's just right in the middle. But in terms of the grand scope of this movie, production values, it's fantastic. The sets look amazing. The recreation of the Paris Opera House looks utterly fantastic. And it's actually a damn shame that Universal Studios demolished this structure in 2014. That was the stupidest thing they could have done. Honor your history. This is one of the oldest landmarks in movie history, and you got rid of it. Shame on Universal Studios. I don't care what their reasoning was. You should have preserved this opera house at all costs. This is like one of those last remnants of your golden age, of your early years, that segued into your golden age. It's like you want to erase your history because you just don't care. I hate the modern world and how the modern world treats how the modern world treats things from years past. Like, they want to forget their history. I'm so sick of that. I can't stand it whatsoever, especially when it comes to movies like this that pretty much helped Universal Studios become the juggernaut that it eventually became. I didn't like that at all. But with that rant aside, I love the look of the Opera House. It's authentic. It looks fantastic. The catacombs of the Opera House look just very dingy. They look foreboding, creepy, and yet have a strange sense of an elegance to it for some reason. I don't know, to me, it has like a strange, creepy elegance to it. And I like that. It also adds to the atmosphere and to the mystique of the Phantom and just how he lives, for lack of a better word. I like that stuff. It's really, really good. I like how a lot of the opera scenes in this movie don't take up a lot of time. Like, we do see them, but they don't overly run their course, as opposed to the 1943 version, where I do think they run their course maybe a little too much. Excuse me. So yeah, I think that's really handled really well. The infamous chandelier scene is still a very iconic scene next to the demasking of the Phantom. That was done really well in this movie. That was done really well here too. Now, in terms of things that I don't like, now I already talked about the supporting cast in this movie. I don't really think that while I do think they're good, I don't think they're all that interesting, as opposed to the 1943 version, where I actually like the supporting cast in that movie, and we actually got some humor in that movie as well, especially with the two love interests who were going for Christine in that movie. Those two actors, Nelson Eddy and Edgar Barrier, had outstanding comedic chemistry with one another. In this movie, the Persian and Raoul, it's more of an investigation, and they're not really trying. And the Persian's more interested in trying to find Eric, while Raoul is also trying to find Christine at the same time. So there's not really anything. There's no comedic value there. It's just straightforward. Like, okay, we gotta find these. We gotta find who we're finding, and just get this over with. It's like they don't act and feel like real people. They feel and act like plot devices, to me at least, and that's what makes them uninteresting characters in this movie. And that goes back to what I said earlier, is that there are certain things I think the silent movie was really, really good, and there are certain things where I thought its 1943 remake kind of outdoes it in a lot of areas. Like, in terms of its direction, the 1943 version is a much, much better directed movie as opposed to this film, and it makes you wonder why we couldn't have gotten Arthur Lubin to make this movie if he was even around back then, because I think this movie could have rivaled its remake in spades. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take away from this film. It's still very, very iconic. It's still just a piece of movie history that we should all appreciate. even though I don't really care for the third act of this movie, which is really, really just rushed. Though I do like the closing moments where the Phantom gets one last trick on the townspeople of Paris, pretty much cementing the fact that if he's going to go down, he's going to go down on his own terms, and I love that. It's like a great big FU to everyone who's chasing him. So that I do like. And I love Lon Chaney's performance in that in the last 12 seconds of this movie. It's freaking great. But yeah, aside from all of that, I still enjoyed the 1925 version of the Phantom of the Opera. It's still a very good and solid movie. And if you haven't watched it, I say give it a watch. So yeah, when all said and done, I'm going to give the Phantom of the Opera a solid 7.5 out of 10. It's the same grade as the 1943 movie, though I will put this slightly above that movie by just a hair, mainly because of Lon Chaney Sr. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.